Down continues. Democrats have coalesced around a rationale for their continued opposition to a border wall. They're no longer telling you that walls are too expensive. That was a laughable argument coming from the left, so they've given up. They're not telling you that walls don't work, because obviously they do. Everybody knows that. The problem they are now telling us, and you just heard it, is that God doesn't like walls. They're immoral. As Beto O'Rourke noted the other day, walls, quote, ensure death. Building a wall is the same as committing murder. Well, Democrat Ilhan Omar of Minnesota has been in Congress for only a matter of weeks, but already she strongly agrees with this.
And I demand that the president end his temper tantrums and quest for a racist and xenophobic wall.
Racist and xenophobic. That's what walls are. And once you understand that, it does make you think there are an awful lot of walls in this country. Now that we know that they're an offense against God, how can we let them stand? Well, that's a real question for the city of El Paso, Texas. El Paso is on the border, right across from Juarez, Mexico. El Paso is a calm and peaceful and pretty city. It's a great place. Juarez is violent and chaotic. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the world. How can these two places exist side by side? Well, simple. There's a wall between them. Congresswoman Veronica Escobar now represents the city of El Paso. She just replaced Beto O'Rourke. Escobar says it may be time to knock down that sinful wall.
We know that walls don't work, that they don't stop drugs, that they don't stop migration.
El Paso has a wall. You say it doesn't work. Would you ever call for the removal of the wall there?
You know, it's really ugly. It is, I think, a monument to division. We've always had fencing along the U.S.-Mexico border. It's existed. I'm a lifelong resident. It always was there. But the bigger and taller and uglier that they get, they really just become symbols.
A monument to division. That's what El Paso's new congresswoman calls her city's wall. And she's right, by the way. Walls do divide. That's the point of having them. There are some things people would like to be divided from, like endemic corruption and murderous drug cartels. How do you accomplish that without walls? Well, Nancy Pelosi has been thinking about this recently. Here's her solution.
And then we talk about technology. As I said, several $100 million, ranges from $500 million to $700 million for the technology to scan the cars coming through the ports of entry. And that is to detect guns. It's like an electronic dog almost to detect drugs, guns, and other contraband.
An electronic dog, of course. How obvious. It was right there in plain sight, and we missed it. The rest of us were thinking about security in old-fashioned medieval terms: walls, fences, actual living dogs. But leave it to the congresswoman from our technology capital out in California to think a lot bigger than that. You're looking at the solution of the future, an electronic dog. Brilliant. This show has exclusively obtained a prototype of the speaker's digital canine. You're watching it right now. Just kidding, we pulled that off the internet. Probably not so different from the real thing, though. We'll see. In the meantime, though, let's take Nancy Pelosi and Beto O'Rourke and the entire editorial staffs on the other cable channels seriously for a moment. Let's concede that walls are, in fact, inherently immoral. How do we respond once we've accepted that? We can't simply prevent Donald Trump from building a wall. That's not enough. We've got to do something about the countless walls of wickedness that degrade and pollute America's moral landscape. For example, the wall that keeps poor people out of Barack Obama's home in Washington. The wall that protects George Soros' place in Southampton. The wall at the Pelosi compound in Napa. Not to mention the wall around Mark Zuckerberg's estate in Hawaii. The gated communities of Brentwood. The walled gardens of Brooklyn. Level them all of them. Make them flat. In fact, do it tonight before an angry God turns us all to pillars of salt for ignoring his anti-wall commandment. Speaker Pelosi, tear down these walls. And once you've done that, turn the bulldozer of righteousness outward to the world. Israel, for example, surrounded by walls on virtually all sides. Does Nancy Pelosi know that? Will she withhold billions in military aid until those walls are gone? That's a moral question now. What's the answer? And how about Tunisia and Jordan? We help pay for those countries' walls. We are implicated in those walls. Will we pay to take them down? How much do we really care about our souls? We contacted the speaker today to find out. She didn't reply. Neither did the other Democrats we called. It turns out they have no plans to eliminate anyone else's walls, and certainly not their own. They just don't have a wall to protect America. They don't think our country deserves that. Just yesterday, the New York Times ran a piece by a man called Farhad Manjoo. He demanded that the U.S. get rid of its borders entirely. No borders. If 10 million, 100 million, a billion people want to move here, so be it. It's not our right to keep them out. It's only our obligation to pay for it. That's the Democrats' position. They're telling us that God agrees with them. Mark Morgan was the head